The poison is in the pasta. 30 seconds after his first bite. His heart will stop. Sarah's eyes went wide. The man across the restaurant wasn't speaking out loud. His lips moved in silence as he faced his companion, but she saw every word. Every Japanese syllable shaped perfectly in the dim light of the corner booth. She was 9 years old and she'd just watched a man sentence someone to death. Her mother's hand touched her shoulder. Sarah stopped staring. It's rude. But Sarah couldn't stop. The second man nodded, his lips forming words she'd seen 1,000 times in her movies. The doctor confirmed it. No one will suspect poison. It will look natural. The first man smiled. Our boss will finally have his revenge. 20 years of waiting ends tonight. Sarah turned her head slowly, following their gaze across the upscale restaurant. A man sat alone at a table near the window. Dark suit, gray at his temples, tired eyes. A waiter placed a plate of pasta in front of him. Mom. Sarah's voice came out strangled. What's wrong? Elizabeth looked up from her own untouched plate, exhaustion written in every line of her face. This was supposed to be a treat. One nice dinner after 6 months of double shifts and cafeteria meals. One night where her daughter didn't eat cereal for dinner while she worked until midnight. That man. Pasta. They poisoned it. Elizabeth's expression shifted from confusion to concern. Sweetie, what are you talking about? The man by the window picked up his fork. Sarah didn't think. Ran. Her mother's startled Sarah echoed behind her, but her legs were already pumping, weaving between tables, knocking into a waiter who cursed and stumbled. The restaurant blurred around her. All she could see was the man raising the fork to his mouth, pasta twirling on the silver tines. She slammed into his table with both hands. Pasta flew. The plate shattered. Red sauce splattered across white tablecloth like blood. 4 bodyguards materialized from nowhere. Hands grabbed her arms, her shoulders, lifting her off the ground. She heard her mother screaming her name. The restaurant erupted in chaos. But the man with gray temples held up one hand. Everyone froze. He looked at Sarah with eyes that had seen too much. Explain. Quickly. The pasta. It's poisoned. Those men. She pointed with a shaking finger toward the corner booth. They said 30 seconds. They said you'd die and no one would know. The man studied her face for a long moment. Then he looked at the bodyguards. Ben. Taste it. Sir, I don't think. That wasn't a request. The bodyguard named Ben released Sarah's arm and bent down. He scooped a small amount of pasta from the floor with his finger and placed it in his mouth. Elizabeth finally reached them, breathless, grabbing Sarah against her chest. I'm so sorry. She's just a child. She didn't mean. Mom, I'm not lying. Sarah, this is insane. You can't just. Ben collapsed. His body hit the floor with a sound that Sarah would hear in her nightmares for years. His back arched. His mouth opened in a silent scream. His eyes rolled back. 35 seconds after he'd tasted the pasta, Ben Dufresne stopped breathing. The restaurant descended into pandemonium. People screamed. Chairs scraped. The corner booth was empty. The 2 men had vanished like smoke. The man with gray temples looked at Sarah with an expression she couldn't name. Then he looked at Elizabeth, still holding her daughter like a shield against the world. You just saved my life, he said quietly. His voice was rough like gravel under tires. What's your name? Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. Sarah Wilson. I'm Vincent. He didn't offer a last name. And I owe you a debt I can never repay. Elizabeth's arms tightened around Sarah. Her mind was trying to process what had just happened. A man was dead on the floor. Her daughter had known, had seen something, had saved someone. Had saved, she realized with growing horror, someone very dangerous. We should go, Elizabeth said. Her nurse's training kicked in, the part of her that recognized crisis and knew when to extract yourself from harm. Sarah, we're leaving. Now. But Vincent stood, and when he moved, The remaining bodyguards created a wall between them and the chaos. You can't leave. The police will have questions. And he paused, something shifting in his expression. You're not safe anymore. What do you mean we're not safe? We didn't do anything. Your daughter just exposed an assassination attempt. The men who tried to kill me saw her face. They know she knows. Vincent's eyes moved to Sarah, and for the first time, she saw something other than hardness there. Something almost gentle. How did you know? How could you possibly have heard them from across the room? Sarah bit her lip. She always felt weird explaining it. Kids at school called her a freak. Her father had called it, that creepy thing you do before he left. Elizabeth answered for her. She reads lips. She's incredibly good at it. And Japanese. Vincent asked Sarah directly. You understood Japanese? Sarah nodded. I watch a lot of movies. Anime. I've been teaching myself for 3 years. Something that might have been a smile touched Vincent's mouth. Then it disappeared as sirens wailed in the distance. The next 4 hours were a nightmare of police questions, statements, and a body bag being wheeled past them while Sarah tried not to look. Elizabeth held her daughter's hand the entire time, watching Vincent move through the chaos like he owned it, which she suspected he might. He never raised his voice, never seemed ruffled. He spoke to the police with the ease of someone who'd done it 1,000 times. When a detective started pressing Sarah too hard, Vincent intervened with a quiet word that made the man back off immediately. It was nearly midnight when they were finally allowed to leave. Elizabeth's car was in the parking lot. A 10-year-old sedan with a dent in the passenger door and a check engine light that had been on for 6 months. She guided Sarah toward it with one hand, desperate to get home, to lock the doors, to pretend this night had never happened. Mrs. Wilson. A turn. Vincent stood under the parking lot light, looking suddenly older. Tired. It's Ms. Reeves now, she said automatically. I took my maiden name back. He nodded slowly. Ms. Reeves. I meant what I said. Your daughter saved my life. And I meant what I said about safety. We'll be fine. No. His voice was firm. You won't. The Yakuza family that tried to kill me tonight has a long memory. They saw your daughter's face. They know she cost them their chance. Elizabeth's blood turned to ice. The Yakuza. As in a criminal organization that doesn't forgive and doesn't forget. Vincent took a step closer. I'm offering you protection. Both of you. Protection. Elizabeth laughed, a brittle sound. From a man who has people trying to poison him in restaurants. No offense, but you don't seem very good at protecting yourself. I'm alive, aren't I? Because of a 9-year-old girl. Exactly. Vincent's eyes met hers. A 9-year-old girl who is now in danger because of me. Let me fix that. Hey there, my wonderful friend. How's your day going? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this story so far. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Sarah tugged on Elizabeth's sleeve. Mom, I'm scared. And there it was. The truth that cut through Elizabeth's defenses. Her daughter was scared. A man had died in front of her. And if this Vincent was telling the truth, more danger was coming. Elizabeth had been a single mother for 3 years. 3 years since she'd walked in on her husband with his secretary in their bed. 3 years of double shifts at the hospital, of missing Sarah's school plays, of cereal for dinner and exhaustion in her bones. 3 years of being too tired to date, too broken to trust, too busy to imagine any life beyond survival. She looked at Vincent and saw something in his eyes that surprised her. Genuine concern. For a child he didn't know. For a woman who was nothing to him. What kind of protection? She asked quietly. I have a house outside the city. Secure. Guarded. You and Sarah can stay there until this is resolved. I have a job. 2 jobs. I can't just disappear. I'll compensate you for your time. I don't want your money. The words came out sharper than she intended. I'm not for sale. That's not what I meant. Vincent ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so human it startled her. I'm handling this badly. Sorry. I'm not good at asking for help. Or offering it. What are you good at? He met her eyes. Keeping people safe. When I have warning. Your daughter gave me that warning. Sarah spoke up, her voice small. Mom, can we trust him? Elizabeth looked down at her daughter. Sarah, who noticed everything. Sarah, who could read lies on people's faces as easily as words on their lips. Sarah, who was looking at Vincent with something that wasn't fear. What do you think, baby? Sarah studied Vincent for a long moment. Then she said, his bodyguard died for him. He was sad about that. I saw it when he looked at the body. Vincent's expression flickered. Ben had a family, a wife and 2 sons. I'll make sure they're taken care of. You see. Sarah looked at her mother. He's sad. Bad people aren't sad when someone dies. Elizabeth wanted to tell her daughter that the world wasn't that simple. That bad people could feel sad. That danger didn't announce itself with a villain's mustache and a black hat. But she was tired. Oh, tired. And for the first time in 3 years, someone was offering to help carry the weight. 1 week, she said finally. We'll stay 1 week. Until you figure out if we're really in danger. Then we go back to our lives. Vincent nodded. 1 week. He was lying, and Elizabeth knew it. Not about the protection, but about the timeline. This wasn't something that would be resolved in a week. And somewhere, in a part of herself she'd locked away 3 years ago, she wondered if she wanted it to be. Sarah climbed into Vincent's car, eyes wide at the leather seats and the quiet luxury. Elizabeth slid in beside her, hyper-aware of the man in the driver's seat. He drove them in silence, his remaining bodyguards following in a second vehicle. The house was outside the city like he'd said. But house was an understatement. It sprawled across manicured grounds, all warm stone and subtle lighting. Nothing ostentatious, nothing screaming wealth, just quiet, solid security. Sarah fell asleep in the car. Vincent carried her inside without asking, and Elizabeth was too exhausted to protest. She followed him through halls that smelled like cedar and something else. Something that reminded her of safety, though she couldn't explain why. He laid Sarah in a bedroom that looked like it had never been used. Elizabeth tucked her daughter in, kissed her forehead, and tried not to think about the gun she'd seen holstered under Vincent's jacket. When she came back downstairs, he was in the kitchen making tea. You don't have staff, she asked. Not at night. I like my privacy. Must be lonely. He looked at her over the rim of his cup. Yes. The honesty surprised her. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Elizabeth said, What exactly do you do, Vincent? I run businesses. Import-export. Logistics. That's not what I asked. He smiled, and it transformed his face. Made him look younger. Almost kind. No, it wasn't. Are you going to tell me the truth? Would you believe me if I did? Elizabeth thought about that. About the bodyguards and the assassination attempt, and the way the police had treated him with wary respect. Probably not. Then let's save that conversation for another day. Vincent set down his cup. You should sleep. Tomorrow I'll have some of your things brought here. Clothes, whatever Sarah needs. You don't have to. I know. He met her eyes. But I want to. Elizabeth felt something stir in her chest. Something she'd buried under exhaustion and betrayal and survival. Something dangerous. She stood quickly. Good night, Vincent. Good night, Elizabeth. She was halfway up the stairs when she realized he'd used her first name for the first time. And that she'd liked the way it sounded in his voice. In the bedroom next to Sarah's, Elizabeth lay awake and stared at the ceiling. Her life had turned upside down in a matter of hours. Her daughter had saved a man's life. They were now under the protection of someone who might be a criminal. And she was, God help her, attracted to him. 3 years of carefully constructed walls. And one night had shaken them all. Downstairs, Vincent stood at the window and looked out at the darkness. Ben was dead. A child had saved him. And a woman with tired eyes and fierce love for her daughter had walked into his life like a hurricane he didn't see coming. He'd built an empire on control, on knowing every variable, every risk, every player. But he hadn't planned for this. He hadn't planned for Elizabeth Reeves and her daughter Sarah. And for the first time in 20 years, Vincent Coffey had no idea what happened next. Morning came with the smell of pancakes. Sarah found Vincent in the kitchen, flipping them with the concentration of a man defusing a bomb. She climbed onto a stool and watched him work. "You're not very good at that," she observed. "No," he agreed. "I'm not. My mom makes them better." "I'm sure she does." Sarah tilted her head, studying his face. "Why do people want to kill you?" Vincent flipped a pancake. It landed half on the pan, half on the counter. "Because I made mistakes. A long time ago. Can't you say sorry?" "Some mistakes are too big for sorry." Sarah considered this. "My dad made a big mistake. He kissed another lady. Mom said sorry doesn't fix everything." Vincent looked at the 9-year-old girl who'd saved his life. "Your mom is right." Elizabeth appeared in the doorway, hair still damp from the shower. She'd slept in her clothes from last night and found fresh ones laid out this morning. Her size exactly. That should have felt invasive. Instead it felt careful, thoughtful. "You don't have to cook for us," she said. "I wanted to." Vincent slid the mangled pancakes onto a plate. "I'm not good at it, but I wanted to." Something in Elizabeth's chest squeezed tight. They ate breakfast together, this strange fractured family, and it felt almost normal. Until Vincent's phone rang and his face went cold. "Excuse me." He stepped out. Elizabeth heard his voice through the door, low and hard. When he came back, the warmth was gone. "There's been a development. The men from last night, they're connected to someone I knew. Someone who has reason to hate me." He looked at Sarah, then at Elizabeth. "This is bigger than I thought." "How much bigger?" "The kind that doesn't end in a week." Elizabeth felt the trap closing. "You knew that last night, didn't you?" "I hoped I was wrong." "But you weren't." "No." Sarah watched them both, her eyes moving between their faces, reading everything they weren't saying out loud. A woman arrived an hour later. Tall, elegant, with eyes like chips of ice. She embraced Vincent at the door, her hands lingering on his shoulders. "Vincent, darling. I came as soon as I heard." He stepped back. "Catherine." "Thank you." Catherine's gaze swept to Elizabeth and Sarah with the precision of a scalpel. "So these are your new house guests. How quaint." Elizabeth felt herself being measured and found wanting. She recognized the look. The same look her ex-husband's secretary had given her that terrible afternoon. "Catherine handles my legal affairs," Vincent said. "She's here to help." "Of course I am." Catherine smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We need to discuss security protocols, Vincent." Privately. They disappeared into his study. Elizabeth tried not to notice how familiar Catherine was with the house. How she moved through it like she belonged. Sarah tugged her sleeve. "Mom, that lady likes Vincent." "I know, baby. Do you like Vincent?" Elizabeth froze. "What? Well, I just met him." Sarah's expression said she didn't believe that. 9 years old and she could already read her mother like a book. That night, Elizabeth found Vincent on the terrace. Catherine had left an hour ago, but her perfume still lingered. "Is she your girlfriend?" Elizabeth asked, then immediately regretted it. "Sorry. That's none of my business." "No," Vincent said quietly. "She's not. It was once. A long time ago. She still has feelings for you." "I know. And you." Vincent turned to face her. "I learned the hard way that mixing business with anything else is dangerous. Catherine and I work together. That's all." Elizabeth should have felt relieved. She didn't have the right to feel relieved. "The men who tried to kill you," she said, changing the subject. "You said you knew who sent them." "Yes. Are you going to tell me?" Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "His name was Hiroshi Takeda. He's dead now. But his son, Kenji, he blames me for his father's death." "Did you kill him?" "No. But I might as well have." Elizabeth waited. 20 years ago, Hiroshi and I were partners. We built something together. Then he got greedy. Started using our business for things I couldn't accept. Trafficking. Exploitation. I tried to stop him. Tried to expose him to the other families. It started a war. Vincent's voice was hollow. Hiroshi died in that war. Along with a lot of other people. Kenji was 10 years old when he watched his father bleed out. The same age as Sarah. Yes. Elizabeth understood then. The weight Vincent carried. The reason he'd looked at Sarah with such intensity. You see him when you look at her. I see what violence does to children. What my choices did to a child. Elizabeth stepped closer. You're not responsible for what his father chose. Aren't I? Their eyes met, and Elizabeth saw the truth. Vincent had been carrying this guilt for 20 years. Had built walls around himself so high that no one could reach the man inside. She recognized those walls. She'd built her own. "Sarah told me something today," Elizabeth said softly. "She said you're sad. She said bad people aren't sad when someone dies. Children see the world in simple terms. Maybe the world is simpler than we make it." Vincent's hand lifted, almost touching her face, then dropped. "You should go inside. It's cold." But Elizabeth didn't move. "Thank you for the pancakes this morning. Even the burned ones. They were all burned." "I know," she smiled. "But you tried." She left him on the terrace, and Vincent stood alone in the darkness, feeling something he hadn't felt in 2 decades. Oh. Inside, Sarah pretended to be asleep but watched through her window as her mother glanced back at Vincent one more time before going to bed. Sarah smiled. And in the shadows beyond the property line, someone watched the house with patient, burning hatred. Kenji Takeda had waited 20 years for revenge. He could wait a little longer. 3 days passed in a strange bubble of domesticity. Sarah explored the grounds with wonder, discovering a library that made her gasp with joy. Rows of books, including an entire section of manga in Japanese. Vincent found her there on the second afternoon, cross-legged on the floor, completely absorbed. "You can read those?" he asked. She nodded without looking up. "This one's about a girl who can hear ghosts. She helps them find peace." Vincent sat down beside her, his expensive suit incongruous against the carpet. "And can she find peace for them?" "I don't know yet. I'm only on volume 3. They read in comfortable silence. Elizabeth found them an hour later, a dangerous criminal and her daughter, sharing a manga like it was the most natural thing in the world. That night Vincent taught Sarah to play chess. She was terrible at it, but she laughed when he captured her pieces, and the sound filled corners of the house that had been silent for years. Elizabeth watched from the doorway, her heart doing things she didn't trust. "Your move, Mom," Sarah called. "I don't know how to play." Vincent looked up. "I could teach you." So Elizabeth found herself sitting across from him, learning the way pieces moved, hyper-aware of his hands when they brushed hers. He was patient, explaining strategies in a low voice that made her skin warm. "You're good at this," he said when she successfully trapped his knight. "I'm a quick study. I'm noticing." Their eyes held for a moment too long. Sarah giggled. But the bubble couldn't last. On the 4th morning Vincent received a package. He opened it in his study. Elizabeth only knew something was wrong when she heard glass shatter. She ran, found him standing over his desk, a photograph in his hands. "Vincent." He looked up and his face was devastated. "They have my sister." Elizabeth's blood went cold. "What?" He handed her the photograph. A woman, maybe 40, bound to a chair. Tape over her mouth. Terror in her eyes. "I didn't know you had a sister. I haven't seen her in 15 years. I cut ties with everyone I cared about to keep them safe from this life. His voice cracked. It didn't matter. Kenji found her anyway. Elizabeth read the note attached to the photo. He wants to trade her life for yours. Yes. You can't. I have to. Vincent, he'll kill you both. You know that. What choice do I have? Vincent slammed his hand on the desk. She's innocent. She got married, had kids, lived a normal life. And now she's going to die because of me. Because 20 years ago I made choices that started a war. Elizabeth grabbed his arm. This isn't your fault. Isn't it? Everything I touch turns to poison. Ben is dead. My sister is kidnapped. And you and Sarah, you're in danger because I pulled you into my world. He looked at her with raw anguish. Everyone I care about gets hurt. Then stop caring from a distance. Elizabeth's voice was fierce. Stop punishing yourself by being alone. Let people choose to stand with you. You don't understand what you're saying. Don't I? My husband cheated on me and I spent 3 years believing I wasn't enough. That if I'd been better, prettier, more present, he wouldn't have strayed. I built walls so high that I forgot what it felt like to let someone in. She stepped closer. But Sarah, she doesn't build walls. She runs toward danger to save people. She sees the good even when it's buried under years of mistakes. Maybe she's smarter than both of us. Vincent's hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. You're extraordinary, Elizabeth Reeves. So stop trying to save me by pushing me away. He kissed her. It was soft and desperate and tasted like hope and fear mixed together. Elizabeth's hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer. 3 years of loneliness pouring into the kiss. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Vincent rested his forehead against hers. I don't know how to do this, he whispered. Any of this. Neither do I. So we figure it out together. The door burst open. One of Vincent's guards, bleeding from a cut on his head. Sir, we have a breach. East perimeter. Multiple hostiles. Vincent moved instantly, positioning himself between Elizabeth and the door. Get Sarah. Safe room. Now. But Elizabeth was already running. She found Sarah in the library, reading peacefully, unaware of the danger. Baby, we have to go. Now. Sarah saw her mother's face and didn't argue. They ran through corridors that suddenly felt like a maze. Vincent appeared, gun in hand, directing them toward a reinforced door she hadn't known existed. Inside. Don't open it for anyone but me. Gunfire erupted somewhere in the house. Sarah screamed. Vincent shoved them through the door, started to close it, then stopped. He looked at Elizabeth with an expression that broke her heart. If something happens to me, there's a phone in there. 1 number programmed. He'll get you and Sarah out safely. Vincent, no. Promise me. We're not having this conversation because nothing is going to happen to you. More gunfire. Closer now. Vincent kissed her once, hard and fast. Then he pushed them inside and locked the door. Elizabeth pounded on it, screaming his name, but he was already gone. The safe room was small, windowless, stocked with supplies. Sarah curled into her mother's lap, shaking. Elizabeth held her daughter and listened to the sounds of violence filtering through reinforced walls. Minutes felt like hours. Then silence. Terrible, consuming silence. Elizabeth found the phone. 1 number. Her finger hovered over the call button. The door opened. She grabbed Sarah, ready to fight with her bare hands if necessary. Vincent stood there, alive, a cut above his eye bleeding down his temple. It's okay. They're gone. Elizabeth launched herself at him, and he caught her, one arm around her waist, the other hand cradling her head. I'm okay. I'm okay. If you ever do that again, I'll kill you myself. He laughed, the sound strained. Noted. Sarah hugged his legs. You're bleeding. Just a scratch. But when they emerged from the safe room, the house told a different story. Bullet holes in walls. Broken furniture. 2 of Vincent's guards injured, 1 seriously. and a message spray painted across the living room wall in red. Your sister dies in 3 days. Come alone or she dies screaming. Sarah read the words and looked up at Vincent with eyes too old for 9. You're going to go, aren't you? I don't have a choice. Yes, you do. Elizabeth's voice was steel. You have 3 days. So we use them. A plan. We fight back. Elizabeth, these people are professionals. So are you. And you're not alone anymore. Vincent looked at this woman who'd crashed into his life 4 days ago. This nurse who worked double shifts and raised a daughter alone and somehow still had the courage to stand between him and his guilt. Why are you doing this? He asked quietly. Because Sarah was right. Bad people aren't sad when someone dies. And you, Vincent Coffey, you've been sad for 20 years. It's time for that to end. Vincent pulled her close, and in that moment, surrounded by the wreckage of his carefully controlled life, he made a choice. He chose to stop running from connection. He chose to let people in. He chose to fight not just for survival, but for the possibility of something more. 3 days, he said. We'll need help. Elizabeth nodded. Then let's get started. Sarah watched her mother and Vincent, their heads bent together over plans and maps, and she smiled despite the fear. Her mom hadn't smiled like this in 3 years. Whatever happened next, at least they'd be together. Outside, Kenji Takeda watched the house through binoculars and saw Vincent silhouetted in the window, a woman beside him, a child nearby. He saw what Vincent had. What his own father had lost. And his hatred burned brighter. 3 days. Then the Coffey family would understand what it meant to lose everything. The war room formed in Vincent's study. Maps spread across every surface. Photographs of warehouses, shipping yards, abandoned buildings. Vincent made calls in 3 languages. His network of contacts mobilizing with the efficiency of a military operation. Elizabeth watched him work and saw a different man emerge. Strategic. Commanding. Dangerous. It should have frightened her. Instead, she felt safer than she had in years. Kenji will expect me to come alone, Vincent explained, marking locations on a map. But alone means dead. He won't honor any deal. So we don't give him what he expects. Elizabeth studied the maps. Where would he keep her? Somewhere he controls completely. Somewhere with history. Vincent's finger landed on a warehouse near the docks. Here. This was one of his father's old locations. Before I burned it down during the war. You burned down his father's warehouse. I burned down 12 of them. Vincent's voice was flat. I told you. I started a war. Sarah looked up from her manga. But you were trying to stop bad things, right? The trafficking. Yes. Then you were a hero. Heroes don't burn buildings, sweetheart. In my manga they do. All the time. Elizabeth touched Vincent's hand. She has a point. Vincent looked at their joined hands like he couldn't quite believe they were real. Then Catherine swept in without knocking, and he pulled away. I have the intel you requested. Catherine's eyes flickered to Elizabeth with barely concealed irritation. The Takeda family has been moving assets. Large amounts of cash. They're planning something bigger than just revenge. What do you mean? I mean Kenji isn't just trying to kill you. He's positioning himself to take over your entire operation. Catherine laid out financial documents. He's been making moves for months. The assassination attempt at the restaurant was just the opening salvo. Vincent's jaw tightened. He wants everything I built. And he's using your sister as bait to draw you out. Once you're dead, your organization fractures, and he steps in to fill the vacuum. Elizabeth felt cold. So saving your sister saves your business empire? No. Vincent met her eyes. Saving my sister saves the only family I have left. The business can burn for all I care. Catherine's expression flickered. Vincent, you can't mean that. You've spent 20 years building this. And I've spent 20 years alone because of it. Maybe it's time for different priorities. The look Catherine gave Elizabeth could have cut glass. Sarah, watching from her corner, saw Catherine's lips move in a whisper too quiet for anyone else to hear. But Sarah heard every word shaped in silence. "You'll regret this." That night, Elizabeth couldn't sleep. She found Vincent on the terrace again, the same place they'd talked days ago. Lifetime ago. 48 hours left, he said without turning. "Are you scared?" "Terrified." She moved beside him. "Of dying. Of failing. Of my sister paying for my mistakes. Of you and Sarah getting hurt because I was selfish enough to want you close." He finally looked at her. "I should send you away. Somewhere safe. You could try." "Elizabeth." "No." She turned to face him fully. "You don't get to push me away now. Not after you kissed me. Not after you let us in. That kiss was a mistake." The words hit like a slap. Elizabeth stepped back. Vincent caught her hand. "That came out wrong. I meant I shouldn't have kissed you. Not with everything falling apart. Not when I might not survive the next 2 days. It's not fair to you. Let me decide what's fair to me. You deserve better than this. Better than a man with a target on his back and blood on his hands." Elizabeth pulled him down and kissed him hard. When she broke away, both of them breathing raggedly, she said, "I deserved better than a husband who cheated. I deserved better than 3 years of working myself to exhaustion. I deserved a lot of things I didn't get. But right now I'm choosing this. I'm choosing you. So stop trying to be noble and accept that someone sees you and wants you anyway." Vincent's forehead dropped to hers. "I don't know how to be what you need. You made my daughter pancakes. Terrible burned pancakes. You taught her chess. You look at her like she matters. That's all I need." They stood wrapped together under the stars, and for a moment, the countdown stopped mattering. The next morning brought new problems. One of Vincent's key contacts had gone silent. A weapons supplier they needed for the rescue operation had disappeared. The financial accounts Catherine was monitoring showed unusual activity. "Someone's leaking information," Vincent said grimly. "Kenji knows too much about our movements." Elizabeth felt fear crawl up her spine. "You think someone in your organization is working for him?" "I don't think. I know." Vincent's eyes were hard. "The question is who?" Catherine arrived for the daily briefing, impeccable as always. She ran through updates with clinical precision. New intelligence. Changed security protocols. Adjusted timelines. Sarah sat in the corner, quiet, watching. Elizabeth had learned to pay attention when her daughter went quiet. After Catherine left, Sarah tugged Vincent's sleeve. "Can I talk to you? Private." Vincent and Elizabeth exchanged glances. "Of course." Sarah led them to the library, her safe space. She climbed into Vincent's lap like she'd known him her whole life, and Elizabeth's heart clenched at the sight. "The pretty lady," Sarah said carefully. "Catherine." "She's lying." Vincent went still. "What did you see?" "When she was talking about the money stuff. Her lips said different words than her voice. Like her voice said the Takeda family was moving money, but her lips said your family. Your accounts. Your assets." Elizabeth felt the world tilt. "Are you sure, baby?" Sarah nodded. "And when she left, she made a phone call in the hallway. I saw through the door. She said, 'It's working. He trusts me. 2 more days and it's over.'" Vincent's face had gone completely blank. The kind of blank that terrified Elizabeth because she could feel the rage underneath. "How long have you known?" he asked Sarah gently. "Since yesterday. But I wanted to be sure. So I watched her more. You're a very smart girl. Are you mad?" "Not at you. Never at you." Vincent set Sarah down carefully. "Go find something to read. I need to talk to your mom." When Sarah was out of earshot, Vincent stood and paced like a caged wolf. "Catherine. It's been Catherine this whole time. You trusted her. I loved her. Once. A long time ago." His laugh was bitter. "She never forgave me for ending it. For choosing the business over her. Thought she'd moved on. I thought we were partners. Elizabeth understood betrayal. She'd lived it. What are you going to do? I'm going to use it. Vincent's eyes were cold calculation now. If Catherine is feeding information to Kenji, then we feed her exactly what we want him to know. That's dangerous. Everything about this is dangerous. He pulled Elizabeth close, sudden and fierce. But I'm not losing anyone else. Not my sister. Not you. Not Sarah. Catherine wants to burn my world down. Fine. I'll burn it down myself and build something new from the ashes. They spent the next 24 hours laying a trap. Vincent fed Catherine false information about his rescue plan. Frontal assault. Overwhelming force. Exactly what Kenji would expect from a desperate man. Catherine took the bait beautifully, her concern seeming so genuine that Elizabeth almost doubted Sarah's reading. But Sarah never doubted. She's still lying, Mom. Every time. The real plan was different. Smaller team. Unexpected entry point. Vincent had found building schematics from when his own people had used the warehouse years ago. There were tunnels. Old maintenance access. Ways in that Kenji wouldn't expect. I'm coming with you, Elizabeth said the night before the rescue. Absolutely not. I'm a nurse. If your sister is hurt, you'll need me. If you're hurt, I won't be able to function. Then don't let me get hurt. They argued for an hour before Vincent finally, reluctantly agreed. Sarah would stay behind with Vincent's most trusted guard, the one man he knew Catherine hadn't compromised. The last night before the rescue, Elizabeth tucked Sarah into bed. Are you going to marry Vincent? Sarah asked sleepily. Elizabeth's breath caught. What? Sweetie, it's too soon for that. But you love him. I barely know him. Sarah's eyes were wise. You know him enough. I see how you look at each other. Like you're both surprised the other person is real. Elizabeth smoothed her daughter's hair. When did you get so smart? I pay attention. People say things with their faces they don't say with words. I know, baby. Mom, be careful tomorrow. I have a bad feeling. Elizabeth kissed her forehead. I'll be careful. I promise. But as she left Sarah's room, she wondered what her daughter had seen that she was too scared to say out loud. Vincent found Elizabeth in the hallway. Without words, he took her hand and led her to his bedroom. They sat on the edge of the bed, not touching, the weight of tomorrow pressing down. If something happens to me, Vincent started. Nothing will happen. But if it does, the man I told you about, the one programmed into the safe room phone. His name is Bruno Wilson. He'll take care of you and Sarah. Money, protection, everything. I don't want your money. I know. But take it anyway. For Sarah. Elizabeth turned to him. You're coming back. We both are. And then we're going to figure out what this is between us. Deal. Vincent pulled her into his arms, and they lay back on the bed, fully clothed, just holding each other. Elizabeth fell asleep to the sound of his heartbeat, steady and strong. When she woke at dawn, Vincent was already dressed in black tactical gear. He looked like a stranger. Like the dangerous man he'd always been under the soft edges he'd shown her. It's time, he said. The team assembled. 5 men Vincent had known for years. Plus Elizabeth, who strapped on a bulletproof vest with shaking hands. Catherine appeared at the door. I wish I could come with you. I need you here, Vincent said smoothly. To protect Sarah. If this is a trap, she's the leverage they'll use. Catherine's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Of course. I'll guard her with my life. Liar, Elizabeth thought. But she smiled and nodded. They left at sunrise. The warehouse loomed in the early morning light, abandoned and rotting. Vincent led them to the maintenance tunnel entrance, exactly where the old schematics showed. They descended into darkness. Elizabeth stayed close to Vincent, her heart hammering. This was insane. She was a nurse, not a soldier. But the thought of Vincent doing this alone was worse than the fear. They emerged inside the warehouse. Too empty. It's a trap, one of Vincent's men whispered. Vincent's expression was grim. I know. The lights slammed on, blinding. When Elizabeth's vision cleared, they were surrounded. 20 men with guns. And in the center, a man she recognized from Vincent's photographs. Kenji Takeda. He was younger than she expected. Handsome. With eyes full of old hatred. Vincent, coffee, Kenji said softly. Thank you for coming. Where's my sister? Kenji gestured. 2 men dragged a woman forward. She looked like Vincent, same eyes, same stubborn chin. Alive but terrified. Let her go. I'm here. That was the deal. The deal. Kenji laughed. You think I'm here to make deals? You killed my father. You destroyed my family. And now I'm going to take everything from you before I let you die. He raised his gun. Not at Vincent. At Elizabeth. Starting with her. Vincent moved faster than Elizabeth had ever seen a human move. He threw himself in front of her as Kenji fired. The bullet meant for her heart hit Vincent's shoulder instead. He went down hard, blood spreading across his tactical vest. Vincent. Elizabeth dropped beside him, her nurse training overriding terror. Pressure on the wound. Check for exit wound. Keep him conscious. I'm okay, he gasped. Get out of here. Not without you. Kenji walked closer, gun still raised. How touching. The great Vincent Coffey brought down by love. My father would find this hilarious. Vincent's men opened fire. Chaos erupted. Elizabeth covered Vincent's body with her own as bullets shredded the air above them. When the gunfire stopped, 3 of Vincent's men were down. The other 2 had their hands up, disarmed. They'd lost. Kenji crouched beside Vincent. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to watch me kill everyone you care about. Your sister first. Then your men. Then this woman who you're so desperate to protect. And then when you have nothing left, I'll let you bleed out slowly. Just like my father did. He stood and walked to Vincent's sister. Put the gun to her head. No. Vincent tried to rise, but the blood loss made him collapse. Please. Kenji. She's innocent. So was I. When I watched my father die. The gun fired. Vincent's scream was inhuman. His sister crumpled. Just like that. Elizabeth felt Vincent shatter in her arms. 20 years of guilt made real. The one person he'd tried to save. Dead because he'd failed. Kenji turned to them. Now the woman. Vincent's remaining men charged. Suicide run. Trying to give them time. They died within seconds. Elizabeth looked into Vincent's devastated eyes. I love you, she whispered. I'm sorry, he choked. I'm so sorry. Kenji raised his gun. Phone rang. Kenji paused, irritated, and answered. His expression changed. Confusion. Then rage. What do you mean she's gone? Vincent's eyes focused. What? The child, Kenji snarled into the phone. You were supposed to grab her when they left. How is she gone? Elizabeth's blood turned to ice. Sarah. Kenji ended the call and smiled. It seems your daughter has disappeared, Ms. Reeves. Catherine was supposed to deliver her to my men, but the clever little girl ran. Don't worry. We'll find her. Vincent's hand found Elizabeth's. Squeeze. And she understood. This was the price. His sister dead. His men dead. And now Sarah, running scared somewhere, hunted. Everything lost. Kenji aimed the gun at Elizabeth's head. Any last words? The skylight shattered. Bruno Wilson dropped through with a tactical team, weapons blazing. The warehouse became a war zone. In the chaos, Elizabeth dragged Vincent toward cover. He was fading, too much blood loss, his eyes unfocused. Stay with me, she begged. Vincent, stay with me. Sarah, he whispered. Find Sarah. Then his eyes closed. Elizabeth screamed for a medic, but Bruno was already there, applying pressure, barking orders. We need to move. Now. They extracted under fire. Elizabeth held Vincent's hand in the helicopter, watching him die by inches, and knew that even if his body survived, The man she'd fallen for was already gone. He'd lost everything. And it was all her fault for letting Sarah get involved in the first place. Vincent woke 3 days later in a private hospital room. Elizabeth sat beside his bed, hollow-eyed. She hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, hadn't stopped searching. Sarah was still missing. "My sister," Vincent said, his voice ruined. "I'm sorry." He turned his face away. "You should go." "Vincent." I said go. This is what happens to people near me. They die. Or they disappear. Or they get hurt. His eyes met hers, dead inside. I should have let Kenji kill me. Should have died 20 years ago. Everything I touch turns to ash. Elizabeth wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him it wasn't true. But her daughter was gone and she couldn't find the words. "Catherine?" Vincent asked. "Disappeared. Bruno is looking for her." Vincent laughed bitterly. "Of course she is. She got what she wanted. Destroyed me completely." Bruno entered, grim-faced. "We have a lead. Sarah was spotted 2 days ago near the train station. Security footage shows her getting on a northbound train alone." "Alone?" Elizabeth stood. "She's 9 years old. Where would she go?" "I don't know. But she's smart. She's surviving." Vincent pulled 4 lines from his arm, ignoring the machine's beeping protests. "I'm coming." "You can barely stand," Elizabeth said. "I don't care." He met her eyes, and for the first time since waking, she saw something other than despair. "I failed my sister. I won't fail Sarah. This isn't your responsibility anymore. You've done enough." The words came out harsher than she meant. Vincent flinched like she'd struck him. "You're right," he said quietly. "I've done enough damage. But I'm still coming. You can hate me later." They found Vincent's clothes. Bruno tried to convince him to rest, but Vincent was already moving, running on spite and guilt and the desperate need to fix one thing before he completely fell apart. The train footage led them north to a small coastal town. Sarah had been seen near a library, then near the docks. Always alone. Always running. "She's terrified," Elizabeth whispered, watching grainy security footage of her daughter's small figure darting between buildings. "She thinks they're still chasing her." Vincent's jaw tightened. "They probably are." They searched for 2 more days. Elizabeth felt herself fracturing, the fear eating her alive. Every hour that passed was an hour Sarah was cold, hungry, scared. On the 3rd night, Elizabeth broke. "I can't do this," she sobbed in the hotel room they'd rented. "I can't lose her. She's all I have." Vincent held her. His own grief a silent weight. "We'll find her." "You don't know that." "No. But I know she's brilliant. She saved my life once. She'll save her own." Elizabeth pulled back. "Is that supposed to comfort me?" "She's 9, Vincent. She shouldn't have to save herself. She should be home reading manga and eating terrible pancakes and being a child." Her voice broke. "This is my fault. I let her get close to you. I let myself believe we could have something normal. There's nothing normal about me. I told you that. I didn't listen." They sat in silence, 2 broken people drowning in their own failures. Vincent's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. "Yes." "Vincent, coffee." Catherine's voice, smooth as poison. "I have something you want." His entire body went rigid. "Where is she?" "Safe. For now. Kenji's men are still looking, but I got to her first." "If you hurt her." "I'm not going to hurt her. I'm going to trade her. For everything. Your entire organization. Every account. Every asset. Every contact. Sign it all over to me, and you get the little girl back." Elizabeth grabbed the phone. "Let me talk to her. Let me talk to Sarah." Oz. Then Sarah's voice, small and scared. "Mom. Baby. Are you okay? Are you hurt?" "I'm okay. I'm sorry I ran. I got scared when the bad men came. I just ran and I didn't know how to find you." "It's okay, sweetheart. It's going to be okay." Catherine's voice returned. You have 24 hours. Sign everything over or I disappear with her. You'll never see her again. The line went dead. Elizabeth collapsed. Vincent caught her, and they clung to each other like drowning people. Give her what she wants, Elizabeth said. I don't care about your empire. Just give it to her. Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, No. What? If I give Catherine everything, she has no reason to return Sarah. She'll disappear. Take the money and run. We'll never find her. His eyes were clearer than they'd been in days. But if we make her come to us, if we force her hand, we have a chance. Vincent, we can't risk Sarah's life. We're not. We're going to get her back. But we do it smart. He stood, wincing at the pain in his shoulder. I've spent 20 years building walls, being alone, thinking that was the only way to protect people. But Sarah, she didn't build walls. She ran into danger to save a stranger. And you chose to stay even when leaving was safer. He took Elizabeth's hands. I've been so focused on my guilt that I forgot how to fight for what matters. My sister is gone. Can't change that. But Sarah is alive. And I'm done letting fear and guilt make my decisions. Elizabeth saw the man she'd fallen for returning. Still broken. Still grieving. But choosing to stand anyway. What do we do? She asked. Vincent smiled. It didn't reach his eyes, but it was real. We call in every favor I have left. And we remind Catherine why people feared me in the first place. Bruno entered. I've been tracking Catherine's phone. She's moving, but I have a pattern. Then we have her. Vincent looked at Elizabeth. Trust me one more time. Elizabeth thought of her daughter, scared and alone with a woman who'd betrayed them all. She thought of Vincent, who'd taken a bullet meant for her. She thought of the choice Sarah had made, running toward danger instead of away. I trust you, she said. And in that moment, broken and terrified and barely holding together, they chose to fight. Not because they were strong, but because giving up meant losing everything that mattered. Bruno tracked Catherine to an abandoned hotel on the coast. 24 hours had become 12, then 6. Vincent assembled what remained of his network. Not an army. Just 5 loyal people who owed him their lives. It would have to be enough. Catherine knows how I operate, Vincent explained. She'll expect me to come in aggressive. Multiple entry points. Overwhelming force. So what do we do different? Bruno asked. Vincent looked at Elizabeth. We use what she doesn't expect. Elizabeth goes in first. Absolutely not, Bruno said. But Elizabeth understood. Catherine thinks I'm just a nurse. A civilian. She won't see me as a threat. Exactly. You get eyes on Sarah. Confirm she's there and alive. Then we move. Elizabeth's hands shook as she strapped on the wire. This was insane. But it was also the only chance. If anything goes wrong, Vincent said quietly, helping her with the equipment. If you feel unsafe for even a second, you get out. Promise me. I promise. He kissed her forehead. You're the bravest person I've ever met. I'm terrified. Bravery isn't not being scared. It's being scared and doing it anyway. Sarah taught me that. Elizabeth approached the hotel alone. Her heart hammered against her ribs. The lobby was dark, abandoned. Her footsteps echoed. Catherine, she called. I'm here. Alone. I just want to see my daughter. Silence. Then Catherine emerged from the shadows, gun in hand. Sarah stood beside her, hands bound, tape over her mouth. But alive. Whole. Elizabeth's knees nearly buckled with relief. Where's Vincent? Catherine asked. Signing the papers. Transferring everything to you. He sent me to verify Sarah is okay. Elizabeth took a step closer. Please. Let me hold her. Just for a minute. Catherine smiled. You really love him, don't you? Poor Vincent. Always picking broken things to care about. I'm not broken. Aren't you? A cheating husband. Working yourself to death. raising a weird kid who reads lips. Catherine's laugh was cruel. You're as damaged as he is. That's why you fit. Elizabeth forced herself to stay calm. Vincent was listening. The team was moving into position. She just needed to keep Catherine talking. Why are you doing this? Elizabeth asked. You loved him once. I still love him. That's why I'm destroying him. Catherine's eyes went cold. He chose his guilt over me. Chose isolation. Chose to push away everything good because he thought he didn't deserve it. So I'm proving him right. I'm showing him he was correct to push me away. That everyone he cares about gets destroyed. That's not love. That's revenge. Sometimes they're the same thing. Sarah made a noise behind the tape. Her eyes were urgent, looking past Catherine toward the window. Elizabeth understood. Sarah had seen something. Let her go, Elizabeth said. You have what you want. The business, the money, everything. Just let my daughter go. Catherine considered. Then she reached for Sarah. The window exploded inward. Vincent came through in a shower of glass, tackling Catherine. The gun flew from her hand. Sarah ran to Elizabeth, who ripped the tape from her daughter's mouth. Mom, there are more people. Catherine called them before you came. They're coming now. Vincent pinned Catherine to the ground. How many? Catherine just smiled. Enough. Car engines roared outside. Doors slamming. Voices shouting in Japanese. Vincent's face went pale. Kenji's men. She called Kenji's men. Of course I did. Catherine laughed beneath him. Did you think I was working alone? Kenji wanted you dead. I wanted you destroyed. We helped each other. Bruno burst in. We have maybe 2 minutes before they breach. Vincent looked at Elizabeth and Sarah, then at the single exit. They were trapped. For a moment, Elizabeth saw the old Vincent, the one ready to sacrifice himself, ready to tell them to run while he held off an army alone. Then Sarah spoke. The service tunnels. This hotel is old. Japanese architecture from the 1940s. They always had underground tunnels for staff. I read about it in the library. She pointed to a door marked maintenance. That goes down. I saw the blueprints. Vincent stared at this 9-year-old girl who just mapped their escape route. Then he grabbed her face and kissed her forehead. You brilliant, perfect child. We need to move now, Bruno urged. Vincent zip-tied Catherine's hands. You're coming with us. Insurance. They ran for the maintenance door as the front entrance exploded inward. Kenji's men flooded the lobby. Gunfire erupted. The tunnel was dark, narrow, smelling of rust and decay. Elizabeth held Sarah's hand as they ran blind, Vincent ahead of them, Bruno behind, Catherine stumbling between them. Tunnel branched. Vincent hesitated. Left, Sarah said. The blueprints showed left leads to the old kitchen building. Right goes to a dead end. You're sure? I'm sure. They went left. Behind them, footsteps echoed. Shouts in Japanese. Kenji's men had found the tunnel. They emerged in a collapsed kitchen, moonlight streaming through holes in the roof. Vincent's car was parked 50 yards away. Go! Vincent shouted. Get to the car. Elizabeth ran with Sarah. Bruno provided cover fire. They reached the vehicle, threw themselves inside. Vincent was 10 yards behind them when Kenji himself stepped from the shadows. Vincent, coffee. We keep meeting like this. Vincent, stop. Let them go. This is between us. Everything is between us. It always has been. Kenji raised his gun. My father. Your sister. All of it circles back to the same moment. The moment you chose to destroy my family. Your father was trafficking children. I couldn't let that continue. So you played God. Decided who deserved to live and die. My father died. Your sister died. And now you die. Finally the scales balance. Vincent didn't draw his weapon. Didn't move. He just said, You're right. Kenji blinked. What? You're right. Played God. Made choices that weren't mine to make. Started a war that killed innocent people. Including your father, who despite everything was still your father. I'm sorry, Kenji. I'm truly sorry. In the car, Elizabeth watched in horror as Vincent gave up, as he stopped fighting. But Sarah saw something else. She saw Vincent's lips moving in patterns she recognized. Saw him counting down under his breath. Mom, he's not giving up. He's stalling. Bruno's sniper shot took Kenji in the shoulder. The man went down, howling. Vincent ran. He dove into the car as Bruno floored it. Bullets shattered the back window. Sarah screamed. Elizabeth covered her with her body. They didn't stop driving for 20 miles. When they finally pulled over on a deserted road, everyone sat in stunned silence. Then Sarah started crying. Elizabeth held her. Vincent sat in the front seat, shaking with adrenaline crash. Bruno made phone calls arranging safe houses, cleanup crews, all the machinery of survival. Catherine, bound in the back, spoke quietly. You can't run forever, Vincent. I'm not running anymore. Vincent turned to look at her. I'm done with this life. All of it. The business, the empire, the violence. You want it. It's yours. I'll sign everything over tomorrow. Catherine's eyes widened. You're serious? Completely. I'm choosing them. He looked at Elizabeth and Sarah. I'm choosing a life where I make pancakes and teach chess and maybe, if I'm very lucky, get to fall asleep next to someone I love. You and Kenji can fight over the ashes of what I'm leaving behind. Elizabeth met his eyes across the car. In them she saw a man reborn. Not through victory, through choice. Where will you go? Catherine asked. Vincent smiled. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere no one knows my name. Somewhere a little girl can read manga in peace, and a woman can work one job instead of two, and I can learn what it means to be normal. You'll never be normal. No. But I can try. No. But I can try. Bruno drove them to a private airfield. Plane waited, fueled and ready. Vincent had planned this. His final escape. Not from consequences, but toward something new. As they boarded, Sarah looked back at the city lights in the distance. Will the bad men stop chasing us? She asked. Vincent knelt beside her. Yes, because Vincent Coffee is going to disappear. And someone new will take his place. Someone who makes really terrible pancakes and loses at chess. Think you can live with that? Sarah hugged him. I like your terrible pancakes. Elizabeth watched them and felt something shift in her chest. The fear releasing. The walls crumbling. They were flying toward the unknown. But they were flying together. And that was enough. The plane landed in a small town in Oregon. Mountains, forests, a place where no one asked questions. Vincent had a house there. Not a mansion. Just a simple 2-story home with a porch and a yard. He'd bought it years ago under a different name. A backup plan he never thought he'd use. This is it? Sarah asked, looking at the normal, ordinary house. This is it, Vincent confirmed. What do you think? It's perfect. They settled in slowly. Vincent signed documents that transferred his entire empire to Catherine. Every account, every asset, everything he'd built for 20 years, gone with a signature. Elizabeth watched him do it without hesitation. Any regrets? She asked that night. They sat on the porch, Sarah asleep inside, the stars brilliant overhead. None, Vincent said. That life cost me everything. My sister. My humanity. 20 years of isolation. I should have walked away the day I realized what I was becoming. Why didn't you? Because I thought I was doing good. Controlling the darkness so it didn't spread. Using evil to fight evil. He turned to her. But you can't touch poison without it seeping into your skin. I was becoming the thing I fought against. Elizabeth took his hand. And now I learned to be someone different. Someone Sarah can look up to. Someone worthy of you. You're already worthy of me, Vincent. You took a bullet for me. You risked everything to find Sarah. Basic decency isn't worthy of praise. It is when most people wouldn't do it. Elizabeth moved closer. I love you. Not who you were. Not who you think you should be. Right now. Broken and healing and trying. Vincent kissed her then, soft and reverent, like she was something precious he was afraid to break. 3 weeks passed. Vincent made pancakes every morning. Still terrible. Sarah pretended they were good. Elizabeth laughed and made backup toast. Vincent taught Sarah chess. She was getting better. Beat him twice. Elizabeth took a job at the local hospital. 1 job. Normal hours. She came home before dark for the first time in 3 years. They were becoming a family. Then Bruno called. We have a problem, he said without preamble. Kenji recovered from his gunshot. He's looking for you. Vincent's blood went cold. I gave up everything. I'm out. He doesn't care. He wants you dead. Catherine told him about the house in Oregon. She gave him everything. When? He left Tokyo 2 days ago. Could be there any time. Vincent ended the call. Elizabeth had heard everything, her face pale. We run again, she said. No. Vincent's voice was firm. I'm done running. Done letting him dictate my life. He looked at her. But I won't risk you and Sarah. Bruno can take you somewhere safe while I handle this. We're not leaving you. Elizabeth. No. She grabbed his face. You don't get to sacrifice yourself. Not anymore. We handle this together or not at all. Sarah appeared in the doorway. The bad man is coming. Vincent knelt beside her. Yes, but I'm going to keep you safe. I promise. Sarah studied his face. Then she said, I want to help. Absolutely not. I can read lips. I can speak Japanese. I can help. Sarah, this is too dangerous. You let Mom help. I'm helping too. Elizabeth saw her daughter's stubborn expression and recognized it. The same determination that had sent her running across a restaurant to save a stranger. What are you thinking, baby? Sarah's eyes were thoughtful. Bad people do bad things because they're hurt inside, right? That's what you always tell me. Yes. So maybe we fix what's hurt. Vincent stared at this 9-year-old child offering wisdom. He'd spent 20 years not learning. Kenji arrived the next morning. He came alone, which surprised Vincent. No army. No backup. Just one man with a gun and 20 years of hatred. Vincent met him in the yard. Elizabeth and Sarah watched from the porch, Bruno hidden nearby with a rifle. You found me, Vincent said. Catherine was very helpful. For the right price, she's very helpful. Kenji raised his gun. I'm going to kill you now. Like I should have done in the warehouse. Then do it. Kenji hesitated. You're not going to fight. No, you're right. I destroyed your family. Killed your father. You deserve your revenge. Vincent opened his arms. So take it. But after I'm dead, you leave them alone. The woman and the child. They're innocent. No one is innocent. Sarah stepped forward before Elizabeth could stop her. Your father hurt children, she said in perfect Japanese. Kenji's gun swung toward her. Vincent moved to intercept, but Sarah kept talking. Vincent stopped him because someone had to. Because if good people don't stop bad things, then bad things keep happening. My teacher told me that. You don't know what you're talking about, child. I know you're sad. I can see it in your face. You miss your dad. Even if he did bad things, you still miss him. Sarah's voice was gentle. I miss my dad too. He left us. He hurt my mom. But I still miss him sometimes. It's okay to miss people even when they hurt you. Kenji's gun wavered. Your father left. Mine was murdered. Vincent didn't murder him. They were at war. Soldiers die in wars. That's sad, but it's different from murder. You're just a child. You don't understand. I understand that killing Vincent won't bring your dad back. It'll just make more people sad. His girlfriend will be sad. I'll be sad. And you'll still be sad because your dad will still be gone. Tears were streaming down Kenji's face now. The gun shook in his hand. Vincent spoke quietly in Japanese. I'm sorry about your father, Kenji. I'm sorry you lost him so young. I'm sorry I started a war that took him from you. If I could go back and find another way, I would. But I can't. All I can do is stand here and tell you that revenge won't heal you. It'll just make the wound deeper. You don't get to lecture me about healing. You're right. You don't. I spent 20 years festering in guilt instead of healing. 20 years alone because I thought I didn't deserve anything else. And then this child saved my life. And her mother taught me that maybe I could be something other than my worst mistake. Vincent's voice cracked. Don't spend 20 years like I did. Don't let one terrible day define your entire life. Kenji's gun lowered. He collapsed to his knees, sobbing. Sarah walked over and hugged him. This man who'd tried to kill them. This man consumed by hatred. This boy who'd watched his father die and never recovered. She hugged him like he mattered. Kenji broke completely, crying into this child's shoulder, 20 years of grief pouring out. Elizabeth moved to Vincent's side. He put his arm around her, both of them watching Sarah perform a miracle with nothing but compassion. When Kenji finally stopped crying, he looked at Vincent with empty eyes. What do I do now? He asked. Revenge was all I had. What do I do now? You heal, Vincent said simply. You find something worth living for besides hatred. You choose a different path. I don't know how. Sarah spoke up. Vincent didn't know how either. But he's learning. Maybe you can learn together. Kenji looked at this impossible child. Then at Vincent. Then at the simple house with its porch and yard. You really gave it all up. The empire. All of it. For this. Was it worth it? Vincent looked at Elizabeth. Sarah. At the life they were building from the ashes of his old one. Yes, he said. It was worth everything. Kenji stood slowly. He still held the gun. For a moment Vincent thought this was it. The final betrayal. Then Kenji handed him the gun. I'm done. Tell Catherine the contract is void. I'm not killing you. What will you do? I don't know. Go home. Try to figure out who I am without the hatred. Kenji looked at Sarah. Thank you, small wise one. You're welcome. Come visit sometime. Vincent makes really bad pancakes, but they're fun to eat. Kenji almost smiled. Then he walked away, got in his car and drove off. Elizabeth released a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Did that really just happen? I think so, Vincent said, stunned. Bruno emerged from hiding. That was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever witnessed. Sarah shrugged. Sometimes people just need a hug. That night, after Sarah was asleep, Vincent and Elizabeth sat on the porch again. Your daughter is extraordinary, Vincent said. Our daughter, Elizabeth corrected. Then blushed. I mean, if you want. Someday. Maybe. Vincent pulled her into his lap. Yes, someday. I want to marry you, Elizabeth Reeves. I want to adopt Sarah. I want to make terrible pancakes every morning for the rest of my life. I want all of it. That's a lot of terrible pancakes. I'll learn to make them better. Don't you dare. I love your terrible pancakes. They kissed under the stars, two broken people who'd found each other in the wreckage and built something beautiful. Inside, Sarah peeked out the window and smiled. Her family was complete. 6 months later, Sarah sat in the kitchen reading manga. Her Japanese nearly fluent now. Vincent flipped pancakes beside her, and for the first time, they weren't completely burned. You're getting better, Sarah observed. Your mom's been teaching me. Where is Mom? Getting ready. We have somewhere to be today. Elizabeth emerged in a simple white dress. Nothing fancy, just beautiful. Sarah's eyes went wide. Are you getting married? Today. Vincent grinned. Surprise. You didn't tell me. We wanted it small. Just us. Is that okay? Sarah launched herself at both of them. It's perfect. The ceremony was in the backyard. Bruno officiated, the only guest. When Vincent slipped the ring on Elizabeth's finger, his hands shook. "I never thought I'd have this," he whispered. "Neither did I," Elizabeth whispered back. They kissed as husband and wife, and Sarah cheered loud enough to scare the birds from the trees. That evening, Vincent found Sarah on the porch. "Can I ask you something?" he said, sitting beside her. "Sure. I'd like to adopt you. Officially. Make you Sarah coffee. If you want." Sarah was quiet for a moment. "Will I still be Sarah Wilson too?" "Always. We'll hyphenate. Sarah Wilson Coffee. That's a lot of name. You're a lot of person. You need a big name." Sarah hugged him tight. "Okay. I want that." Vincent held this child who'd saved his life in more ways than one, and felt the last piece of his broken soul click into place. Later, after Sarah was asleep, Vincent and Elizabeth lay in bed as husband and wife for the first time. "Do you ever regret it?" Elizabeth asked. "Giving up everything?" "Not once." "Do you regret saying yes to a former criminal with terrible cooking skills?" "Not even a little." Vincent traced patterns on her shoulder. "I think about Ben sometimes. My sister. The men who died protecting us. I know. I can't bring them back. Can't undo those losses. No. But you can honor them by living well. By being happy. By choosing love instead of guilt." Elizabeth turned to face him. "Your sister would want that. Ben would want that." "How do you know?" "Because people who love you want you to be happy. Even when they're gone." Vincent kissed her forehead. "When did you get so wise?" "I have a very smart daughter. It rubs off." They fell asleep tangled together, two people who'd found home in each other. A year passed. Vincent worked at a community center teaching chess to kids. Elizabeth worked at the hospital. Sarah excelled in school, her gift for languages expanding to include French and Mandarin. They were normal. Beautifully, wonderfully normal. One evening, Vincent took them to a restaurant. Not fancy. Just a local Italian place with checked tablecloths and breadsticks. Sarah noticed him watching the other diners with old instincts. "You're doing it again." "Doing what?" "Looking for danger." "There's no danger here, Vincent. Just people eating pasta." Vincent relaxed. She was right. He was safe. They were safe. The waiter brought their food. Pasta for Vincent. He looked at it and smiled. "What's funny?" Elizabeth asked. "Just remembering the last time someone served me pasta. A 9-year-old girl knocked it out of my hand and saved my life." Sarah grinned. "That was a good day. The best day. Everything started that day." They ate together, this family built from chaos and choice, and it was perfect. After dinner, walking to the car, Sarah suddenly stopped. "What's wrong?" Elizabeth asked. Sarah was staring across the parking lot. "That woman. She's talking to herself in Russian. Her lips, they're saying something about finding someone. About unfinished business." Vincent tensed. Old habits. Then the woman got in her car and drove away. Just someone on a phone call. Nothing sinister. Vincent exhaled. "Not everything is a threat anymore." "I know," Sarah said. "But I'll always watch. Just in case." Elizabeth took Vincent's hand. "We'll always watch. That's what families do. We protect each other." They drove home through the quiet streets, and Vincent realized this was what he'd been searching for his entire life. Not power. Not control. Not redemption. Just this. Simple moments. Ordinary love. Family. That night, tucking Sarah into bed, Vincent sat on the edge of her mattress. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For running across that restaurant. For being brave when I needed saving. For teaching me that some things are worth more than survival." Sarah hugged him. "You're welcome, Dad." It was the first time she'd called him that. Vincent's eyes filled with tears. "Good night, sweetheart." "Good night, Dad." He found Elizabeth in their bedroom, brushing her hair. "She called me Dad," he said, voice thick with emotion. Elizabeth smiled. "I know. I heard. I don't deserve this. Any of this." "Maybe not." But you're getting it anyway. So stop arguing and just be happy. Vincent pulled her close. I am happy. For the first time in 20 years, I'm actually happy. They fell asleep in each other's arms. And in Tokyo, Kenji Takeda sat in a therapist's office, finally talking about the day his father died. Finally beginning to heal. And in a city somewhere, Catherine counted her money and realized that empire felt hollow without someone to share it with. And in Oregon, a family slept peacefully, their doors unlocked, their hearts open, their future bright. Vincent's old life was gone. But his new life was just beginning. 3 months later, a letter arrived. No return address. Postmarked from Vancouver. Vincent opened it carefully, old instincts flaring. Inside, a single line in familiar handwriting. Thank you for showing me another way. Katie. Vincent smiled and burned the letter. Some chapters were closed. Some doors were locked. But others were opening. And for the first time in his life, Vincent Coffey was ready to walk through them. Not as a criminal. Not as a ghost. But as a husband. Father. A man who made terrible pancakes and lost at chess and loved with his whole heart. It was enough. It was everything. Thank you for joining this journey, my wonderful friend. I hope this story touched your heart. What did you think? Which moment resonated most with you? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to share where you're listening from.